Congress Party MP from Wayanad in Kerala, Rahul Gandhi, is in the eye of a storm. He sparked off a massive controversy after he tweeted, "India is no longer a democratic country." The BJP has hit out at Rahul Gandhi, calling him a foreign agent. The question remains, is there merit in what Rahul Gandhi says, or is this fueling anti-India fire?
After targeting the Modi government over farmer protests and the China standoff, Rahul Gandhi's tweet on democracy has triggered yet another row. The Congress MP quoted a Swedish report which claimed India is no longer a democratic country, only an electoral democracy. Rahul had also targeted the Modi government last year, saying there was no democracy anymore in the country.
ये आप किस देश की बात कर रहे हो? ये कौन सी देश की बात कर रहे हो डेमोक्रेसी? ये मतलब कौन से देश की बात कर रहे हो? इंडिया की बात कर रहे हो? इंडिया में कोई डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है. डेमोक्रेसी इंडिया में ये मतलब आपके इमेजिनेशन में हो सकती है, मगर रियलिटी में है नहीं.
The BJP slammed Rahul, accusing him of acting as an agent of anti-India forces functioning abroad.
जो विश्व का सबसे बड़ा डेमोक्रेटिक देश है, जो विश्व का सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है, राहुल गांधी कहेंगे आज से ये देश लोकतांत्रिक नहीं है, तो क्या ये देश अलोकतांत्रिक हो जाएगा? ऐसा क्यों होता है कि राहुल गांधी को एक सेंस ऑफ प्लेजर मिलता है भारत को नीचा दिखाते हुए?
देखिए, राहुल गांधी जो पश्चिम के नव साम्राज्यवादी ताकतें हैं, जो भारत की उभरती हुई ताकत को और प्रतिष्ठा और विश्वसनीयता को हजम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, उसके भारत में एक एजेंट के रूप में काम कर रहे हैं.
The Congress came out in defense of its former party president.
जरूरत है कि ऐसी रिपोर्ट्स देखकर थोड़ा आत्ममंथन करने की, और जब आत्ममंथन किया जाता है आज इस देश में, तो चुनी हुई सरकारों को किस कदर हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग करके गिराया जाता है. मणिपुर, अरुणाचल प्रदेश, गोवा, कर्नाटक, मध्य प्रदेश, नागालैंड, द लिस्ट इज लॉन्ग.
Rahul has earlier too used international comments on the Modi government as a weapon against the BJP, an oblique of claiming that world had a negative image of the Modi government. Bureau Report, India Today.
Is India now as autocratic as Pakistan? Because this report that Rahul Gandhi quotes, it's a WeDem Institute report from Sweden. This report seems to come to that conclusion. It says India now as autocratic as Pakistan, and it's even lower in their scheme of things than Bangladesh. Would you buy that? The questions that we're raising here on India Today: is dissent thriving in India, or is dissent being throttled in India? Has India's global image taken a hit, or has Rahul Gandhi actually fallen for anti-India propaganda by vested interests? Should the opposition come at a cost of India's global standing? Rahul Gandhi leads protests, but can he still claim there is no democracy in India? Do we no longer have a parliament? Does the parliament not discuss issues? Do we no longer have courts? Do we no longer have other institutions in our country? A free and a vibrant media, social media, there's so much in our country. Are we saying we are no longer a democracy? Let me throw this open to our guests. I have Dr. Ajay Kumar, spokesperson of the Congress Party, who joins me on the broadcast. I have R.P. Singh, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. I have Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, because we wanted a diplomatic perspective on the story. He joins us on the broadcast to shed more light on what these organizations are. Are these organizations, is there merit in what they're saying? We'll in a moment also have Kanchan Gupta, distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, joining us. Now, before I dive into the political debate, let's get Ambassador Vishnu Prakash to shed some light on these reports that are suddenly coming up. Whether it's a Freedom House report or this VDM report, what do you make of it, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash? Is democracy in India declining, or is India under attack from vested interests?
Gaurav, greetings, and thank you for inviting me for this very important discussion. All I know is that since 1947, 15th of August, Cassandras of the world, especially the Western Cassandras, have been predicting the disintegration of India, have been running down the democracy of India. It's a national pastime. And it is some of the Western agencies and Western societies will love it the most. Look at this recent example of how India is treated, because they are surprised at the resilience of India, the strength of India. When the Prime Minister said that there should be a lockdown, you know the hue and cry that was raised, that there is going to be massive problems, there will be hundreds of people, thousands of people dying and so on. Every time India does something, this happens. Now, let me talk specifics. Sweden, a country of 1 crore people, 10 million people, per capita income of $50,000. It reminds me of 1789, when the Queen Mary Antoinette saw a procession and said, why are they protesting? And there was no bread. So he said, eat cake. From Sweden's point of view, if you don't eat cake, you are lesser a democracy. Freedom House, 80% of their funds come from the State Department. They are not capable of seeing what happens within the country. With all due respect, and I'm a fan of I love my American friends, if 1/10 of what had happened after the presidential elections in the US had happened in India, you could have imagined what kind of headlines it makes.
Yes.
Let's talk UK, which has been talking about, Parliament has been discussing India's agricultural reforms. It is a safe haven for economic fugitives. Why isn't that spoken of? Dodgy funds by billions enter the UK real estate every year.
Yes.
Why don't they speak of that? You know, let's face it, it's not a fair world, and we are not allowing any of these Cassandras to tell us what is good for us. Last point, Gaurav, I have been a diplomat. I do not know of a single perfect democracy in the world. If somebody tells me what's a perfect democracy, I'll rest my case. We have aberrations, God knows we have, but who raises them? It's the media, it's the people of India.
And it's sorted out domestically.
We have self-correcting mechanisms.
Yes.
And the very fact that one of the political leaders has spoken the way he has spoken is a testimony to Indian democracy. Thank you.
Okay, fair point you make there. Before I bring in the Congress and the BJP, Kanchan Gupta, are we a democracy now like Pakistan? I mean, do we have General Narvane calling the shots and not Prime Minister Narendra Modi or General Bipin Rawat as the Chief of Defence Staff, the way the decisions are taken in Pakistan? Or are these organizations absolutely cuckoo? They haven't the foggiest idea about what a genuine democracy is and how vibrant our democracy is, sir.
Gaurav, between Vishnu, Prakash and you have stated the case. I don't think much more needs to be said. The very fact that on live television you are asking this question, the fact that Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who, by the way, he does not tweet for himself, he has a bunch of people who do the tweeting for him, that he makes a great grand declaration that India is no longer a democracy. And that tweet travels throughout the length and breadth of the country and around the world, and nobody even bothers to remind him that he is talking rot. The fact is that Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself is an elected member of parliament, that he sits in a parliament that is elected by the people of India. That he does not attend parliament sessions is a different story.
Okay.
Or that he does not attend parliamentary committee meetings, it's a different story. And the fact that day in, day out, as a representative of India's oldest party, he levels outrageous allegations, unsubstantiated allegations, and once, incidentally, he had to go to the Supreme Court and beg for the mercy of the judges.
Okay.
The fact that he gets away, the fact that there is no attempt to zip his lips, shows how much of an autocracy is India. Now, coming back to the point, I mean, what are these agencies?
Yes.
This some report, I'm told, has come out, and I did look it up, from Sweden. I'm told, and again, the website of that organization informs us that some 25 odd experts. Now, what are these experts? Because they don't disclose the identities of these people. What are these experts? Who are these experts? What are
I'm told some of these experts are Chinese and Pakistani in this organization.
Possible.
What is their domain expertise? How often have they traveled to India? who are they relying on for all of this information?
And more importantly, what is their political predilection?
Oh, absolutely.
So similarly,
but let me then now
when you
take
look
this.
at Freedom House, you know,
Yes.
let us not hear about Freedom House.
Yes.
Because Freedom House has often in the past contested India's the quality of democracy in India. Now, Vishnu Prakash made a very important point that there is no perfect democracy in the world, which is a fact. I mean, democracy is an evolving system of governance. It's an evolving political system, and it evolves every day, every month, every year.
No, and we have
Now-
systems of checks and balances in our country. Government does
Of
something wrong, there are courts that will pull it up. The media will highlight it. The social media will highlight it. Everybody and their uncle is commenting on everything that's happening in our country, whether sitting in India or overseas. And then they say that India is not a democracy. Now let me take this to our political guests. Because now that we have the basics right, Dr. Ajay Kumar, democracy broken down in India. Do you also think, Dr. Ajay Kumar, is this the official stand of the Congress party that India is no longer a democratic country? And does that India include the state of Punjab, where Captain Amrinder Singh is the chief minister, or Rajasthan, where we have a Congress government, or Chhattisgarh, or there is democracy in these states and not in the rest of the country, sir?
No, look, I think Gaurav, I was listening to the previous speakers. One is the hyper allergic. When the Western press, when you put the Prime Minister on Times cover, then we get overexcited. We get overexcited when we are in the most influential people, ease of business. We go absolutely bonkers. And then when this report comes and we don't want to accept it. Now the question again is, you need to explain also that Freedom House or Varieties of Democracy has given it. Is there any Indian equivalent which has been saying it? Every reasonable newspaper editor of some substance has written on the color coding by the group of ministers of the various journalists who are friendly. Is that something which we had seen in India earlier? We had a bad and like Mr. Gandhi said, during the period of emergency, emergency was wrong? We have said it. Does that justify this nonsense which is happening now? Tell me, 7,000 people under sedition charges the highest. The parliament doesn't even have the courtesy to debate on the farmers' crisis. You can't debate price rise in the parliament. And then you say democracy.
Okay.
So what is your parameter?
You've raised several points.
Let me complete, sir.
Sir, you've raised several points. Let's take this step by step. Sir, I appreciate every point you've raised. We have an entire show to discuss this. It's a very serious issue. So you are saying that we go rara when they praise the Prime Minister. Sir, whether we go rara or not, we as a nation, when they praise the Prime Minister, foreign press, sir, this time it's not about the Prime Minister. It says India is no longer a democratic country. Narendra Modi is not India. Narendra Modi is not India, sir. It says India. This report is criticizing my democracy. It is not criticizing Narendra Modi.
Gaurav, let me
We
ask you
have to learn to make that distinction, sir. But RP Singh respond. It's a very grave charge.
One second, can I complete, sir?
Okay, kindly
I want
complete.
to ask you a question. You have a journalist who's arrested for commenting on the Hathras rape case for 100 days.
Sir, courts will decide
And
whether
you're
that
saying
arrest is right or wrong.
You have the journalists who are color-coded. You have 7,000 people under the seditious charges.
RP Singh respond to these charges. RP Singh respond.
Come on, you can't debate in the parliament. And then when somebody writes the facts, we suddenly agree.
Sir, you think it's a fact that democracy is broken down in India? You think it's a fact that India is now Pakistan? I mean, now do we have General Manoj Mukund Narvane now taking shots, calling the shots in our country?
Bangladesh and Nepal are above us, Gaurav.
And you buy that? You buy that Nepal is above us? Really?
No, it's not a question of buy that. I'm not getting
I
offended.
mean, sir, हमको अपना भी तो दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत है.
The problem is, look, again, Gaurav, the problem is, again...
गोरी चमड़ी ने कह दिया तो हम मान लेंगे, sir.
No, one sec. Let me complete. I'll just give me the courtesy of 30 seconds. Why are we hung up? Okay, Bangladesh and Nepal. We never thought about Norway and Sweden. We never thought about enlightened democracy. So now I'm saying, Nepal jaisa to nahi hai. The fact is that a group of guys said, look, this is our belief. But the question which Indians have to ask is, why are 7,000 people under sedition charges? Why
Okay, RP Singh responds, sir.
On the farmers' thing. And why are the journalists supported? Why are journalists color-coded? At least answer me that, no?
So I'm going to get the BJP to answer your questions that you've raised about the government. Please respond, Mr. RP Singh.
And color coding of journalists. I want
Sure,
you to ask
I
them.
will get Kanchan Gupta to respond to that.
Please, because there are lots of TV anchors who have the green color code. That's also
Sir,
interesting.
my
right?
color is saffron, white and green.
I know.
I'm very
No,
proud of
I'm
that
not saying
color.
green,
I am very proud
yellow,
of
go ahead,
my
green,
color. It's saffron, white and green. I believe in India first.
It's
but
green,
but
green, red, and amber.
sir,
It's not
I
saffron.
believe in saffron, white and green. But that is what I believe in.
No,
But
green, red
RP
and
Singh,
amber,
respond.
that is for the
This
traffic
isn't
light.
okay. Respond, RP Singh.
Well, Gaurav, let me start with the amber and saffron itself. I mean, the last sentence where you debate with Mr. Ajay got over. Sir, it is saffron, and it's because of the blood of the country, blood of our people who have given
No,
us blood
it's not
for this.
saffron. It's
Sir, can I
saffron.
never interrupted you, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
आपको
Go
क्या
ahead,
पता
RP Singh.
केसर क्या है?
Yeah, please go ahead.
आपको क्या पता केसरी क्या है? आपको क्या पता केसरी क्या है? बलिदान तो सिखों ने दिए, बलिदान हमने दिए, आप में से किसी बलिदान नहीं दी। हमारे 61 लोग
It's an
बनाए थे
English show,
अंग्रेजों ने।
RP Singh साहब,
अरे
it's an
छोड़ो ना
English show,
सर,
यार, let's
आपको
speak in
बलिदानी छोड़ो सर, आप
It's
बलिदान
an
की बात मत
English
करो।
show.
आपको सैफरन और केसरी और इसका
English,
पता नहीं।
what happened to
आप
English,
छोड़ दो
RP Singh
सर।
साहब,
अरे ये
अंग्रेजी में
एम्बर
अंग्रेजी
शैम्बर
में
छोड़ो।
अंग्रेजी में-
अरे छोड़ो सर, एम्बर छोड़ो।
अंग्रेजी कार्यक्रम में श्रीमान अंग्रेजी में बात
Thank
कीजिए
you,
ना।
sir. Thank
इतना
you,
तो
sir.
आजकल वैसे
अंग्रेजी में बात
कीजिए।
कर लेते हैं, sir. Let's discuss English.
अंग्रेजी
Let's
में
talk about
लीजिए,
saffron as a
श्रीमान,
color.
अंग्रेजी।
Okay,
Saffron
English
as a
let's
color.
stay, let's stay on the real issue, sir. Let's stay on the
Sir,
real
this is
issue,
the
and the
problem.
real issue is sedition charges. The report also points out, RP Singh, there are sedition charges on journalists, there are sedition charges on voices, on students, on civil society members who may oppose the government. And these, according to both the reports, are intimidation tactics of the Narendra Modi government. And that is why the government is being termed, or our country is being termed, as an elected autocracy.
More than 7,000 people were levied with sedition charge in Tamil Nadu during Congress regime, and more than 53,000 people were arrested in one shot.
False,
Sorry, cases
false,
were filed.
false.
Can I complete? But sir, this is not. See, this is democracy. You understand? This is democracy. The man would not allow me to speak. I mean, this is the democracy.
Go ahead,
Ajay boss,
speak.
you are entitled to do so only in India. You can't do so in
Please,
Pakistan
please,
and
sir.
China, sir. You can't do so in
Ask him to
Pakistan and
speak.
China. You are throttling me because you are here in India. You are color coding Gaurav here because you are here in India. Sir, you can't do this in Pakistan and China, sir. Can you do this in Pakistan and China, sir? You can't do this in Sweden also. Forget
Speak on
Pakistan and
substance,
China.
Mr. Speak on
Sir,
substance.
please,
क्या
I mean,
है?
have
What
some
are you
sense.
talking? Speak on substance. When you can't speak, you speak in funny language.
Sir, आप बोलने नहीं
Speak on
देंगे
the
तो
issue.
कैसे बात
one by
करेंगे?
one,
You
gentlemen,
want me to even-
gentlemen.
UAPA.
There is
Okay,
democracy
you
on
want
my
me to
show.
shut my mouth
Everyone
and
gets
step
to
aside?
speak and speak freely,
This is the problem
fearlessly.
because they don't want to face the truth. When you show them the mirror, they run away from it, sir. When you show them the mirror, they run away from it.
Really?
Sir,
No, but
Do you
sir,
have
is your
patience, sir?
best response that the Congress also had 7,000 people under sedition? Because
I'm
if
not
what the
saying so.
Congress
I'm
did
not
was
saying no,
wrong,
no.
why are you doing the
Sir.
same? Why are you
Sir,
doing the
I'm not
same
saying so.
if you're saying what that was wrong, sir?
so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gaurav. You have been color coded as saffron or amber or whatever color you have been. But let me take it further. Sir, I'm not saying. I mean, there are sedition cases being filed by every regime and for various reasons. But there are people who go and stand with Tukre gang and they're still out. They're the one who levy allegations. I mean, Rahul Gandhi went and stood with people who want to break this country. People who said, "Ab tak hum sharminda hai, tere qatil zanda hai," and then chanted slogan with them and showed sympathy and showed support to them. And still he says that,
Okay.
there's a problem in this country. I mean, there is problem in the democracy of this
Okay.
country. I mean,
Gaurav.
man can go to any extent. Give me a second now. Give me a second. No, Gaurav, I will not appreciate this. Otherwise, I won't allow that man to speak next time.
Go on,
No,
sir.
Another thing. Another thing. This Rahul Gandhi has a problem because he quotes BBC. Remember, after 370, application of 370, he said people have been killed in Kashmir. BBC has quoted. Then he quotes foreign media every now and then because he enjoys that. He wants to project a negative image of the country abroad, and he is doing it. I'm saying it. He is doing it on base of foreign agency, specifically China, because they have under agreement.
A
with
grave
China
charge,
to
a
defend-
grave charge that
Yes,
you
I'm
level
saying so.
at a
I'm saying
senior
so. Can I
opposition
complete?
leader.
Can I complete? Yes, can I complete? Because he has signed an agreement in 2008 with China to do so.
Okay. Quickly respond to that specific allegation being made, sir, before I bring in both my other guests, because these are very serious issues. One, are these foreign agencies, what are their credentials? What is their study? What is their methodology about criticizing our country? Do they know ground realities? Have they come on ground? Or is it based on analysis of some people that they may have spoken to on phone? And who are these people they've spoken to on phone? We must have all these facts, because okay, quickly, you want to respond to Rahul Gandhi's, the charge that the BJP is leveled against Rahul Gandhi? Dr. Ajay
They have been fed by China. They have been fed by China and Pakistan. These agencies have been fed. They are on payrolls of China and Pakistan to do so. And so is Mr. Rahul Gandhi.
Hey, listen.
Let him respond, sir.
First question, Gaurav, is it is very rich for the party which supported the Britishers and the RSS, which was never in the freedom struggle. One second, let me complete.
Is Rahul Gandhi not on the payroll of China or not? Is he on the payroll of China or not? Why does he raise question on behalf of China every time? Why does he raise question on foreign agencies every time? He doesn't hold any respect for India.
So we are a noisy democracy. You know, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, we are a noisy democracy. The opposition levels all sorts of charges at the government. The government responds perhaps with counter allegations. But Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, and since you understand Pakistan, China, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, the entire region, would you say India is now as autocratic as Pakistan, or the people who've written this report don't have a foggiest idea of what Pakistan really is and what a genuine democracy actually is?
Gaurav, I will not insult the great institution of Indian democracy that we are all proud of. Our forefathers have invested heavily. So much of blood has been shed, and a multicultural, multi-racial society to be a flourishing democracy of 1.35 billion people is a miracle. It is the biggest achievement of India, and I am proud of it. So I am not going to compare it with any other country. I am proud to compare India with India. All that I know, I just want to make 2 points. At the moment, we have multiple crises. We have a country which is where there is a standoff on the border,
yes,
which has waged aggression. We are fighting against the coronavirus. All I have seen in my career is that whenever there are external or internal threats, people sink their differences and rally around the flag. It pains me that we are not doing that, and that is something I wish everybody can take note of. Secondly, as I said earlier, there is no perfect democracy, and if we look at our own record,
you've raised a very pertinent point. Let me take this to Dr. Ajay Kumar. Dr. Ajay Kumar, lakh differences ho sakta hai hamare desh mein, lakh differences. We're a democracy, we'll sort it out ourselves. Why would we need crutches, or does Rahul Gandhi need crutches of a Swedish organization or an American organization to target? He may want to target the Prime Minister. Target the Prime Minister. Why tarnish the democracy? Why tarnish the country?
So Gaurav, so you are such a very good guy, but
suffer from jaundice. That's why you see suffering as ever.
Sir, let Dr. Ajay Kumar respond. Sir, let Dr. Ajay Kumar respond. Sir, give him uninterrupted time. I will come to you for uninterrupted response. Sir, aap jante hain, this is not the channel where you go tutu mein. Sir, everybody gets an opportunity, an equal opportunity to speak here on India Today.
No, you didn't stop him now. He kept interrupting me.
Okay. My apologies if I wasn't able to moderate it effectively. Dr. Ajay Kumar first, and then RP Singh.
So the question, Gaurav, you're a very well-informed anchor. Rahul Gandhi didn't write the Freedom Report. Rahul Gandhi didn't write the Swedish Varieties of Democracy Report. This report is a public document. And when he highlights it as a concern. When you get a report which says India's ease of business is doing well, then do you highlight it? Yes, you highlight it. If something which threatens the country, and one of Vishnuji before this said everybody should rally around crisis. The question is, where is the government rallying around the farmers? Where is the you can't debate even petrol rise in the parliament. You can't debate the farm laws in the parliament. Where is the question of, and you're telling opposition should rally? It's the most ridiculous thing, where every day you come on a channel. And I have served in the Indian Police Service, and you have people like RP Singh talking about questioning our nationalism and our commitment to this country. And is that what the government has done? Is make every opposition member anti-national? Who gives them that right? The party which fought with the British which never put the Tiranga for till 2000. They come and
Sir,
tell every Indian
you've
who
made a
opposes them
very
as
pertinent point.
anti-national.
Okay, so let's move beyond
How
rhetoric.
dare
Sir,
they do
now that time is of essence, you've made a point. RP Singh,
How dare
please
you?
respond. Please respond.
The problem with Mr. Ajay Bose is that he suffered from jaundice. His leader also suffered from jaundice. So they see saffron as a member. We can't blame them. But issue is other that they're not in parliament when debate happen. And the man is absconding from the parliament. He is busy in Cambodia or Thailand or sometime in New York. I mean, that's the problem. And then who is talking about democracy, sir? Mr. P.C. Chako yesterday told you he showed you mirror, the democracy within the party. And Mr. Himanta Sharma showed you much before about what sort of democracy you have. Your leader is more busy with dogs than the party man. He doesn't have time for the party man. He's more busy his pity. So he has no right to talk about democracy. His grandmother was emergency. Can I complete? No, sir, that's a fact. I'm not telling anything from my own side. So, and also, she imposed emergency. And Gaurav, you fought with me for that postal bill which Rajiv Gandhi imposed. Thanks to Gandhi Singh that couldn't be brought as a law. But otherwise, he didn't leave it behind. And they wanted to impose postal bill on media. So, party which has a track record of throttling democracy is talking about democracy, and party which doesn't have a democracy.
While that may be a political point, the substantive point that Dr. Ajay Kumar raises is opposition is not being heard in parliament. He's saying that they want to raise the farmers bill. The farmers issue. They're not being heard. They're not being permitted. They want to raise the fuel price hike. They are not being heard. So that is why they feel, or at least these foreign organizations feel, that democracy in India is being stifled. Foreign organizations, I don't know if Dr. Ajay Kumar thinks that.
When it's discussed, they are not in parliament. When it's discussed, they are not in parliament. They are absconding from the parliament. Their leader is absconding from the parliament. And this bill was discussed threadbare in the parliament. So, and it was their party who wanted these bills to be implemented. It's in their manifesto. But what I said had the answer to that they are a breakfast party. They are a breakfast party, a dynasty party with mother, son, daughter, and son-in-law. 4 people run the party. They talk about democracy.
Okay. So what I'm also being told, and it's subject to verification, that there are elements from who've been former ministers in Pakistan. There are elements that who've been closely associated with the government in China, and they are a part of some of these organizations that are bringing out these reports. Be that as it may, Dr. Ajay Kumar, if that is the case, why should we take such reports seriously? Because as Ambassador Vishnu Prakash will tell us, wars are fought through many means, and this could be a part of the psyops. This could be psychological warfare on India. Unless you believe that democracy is genuinely threatened in India.
No. Somebody like your responsible channel like yours, how much time does it take for us to... So India is today running on rumors and innuendos. Please show the data. Look, and the question again is, we come on a TV channel and say, look, there is believed to be a Chinese guy, there is believed to be a Pakistani guy. I'm not even talking about the varieties of democracy report. The Freedom House, we could have questioned the Freedom House and what they do. I hear some reports. The question again is, you answer 7,000. Disha Ravi is a good example. Disha Ravi and school children.
And she was let out by courts. She was let out by courts. Courts pulled up the government. That is how democracies work. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, isn't that how the democracy works? If the government does, if the executive, and you've been a part of the executive, both Dr. Ajay Kumar and Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, you've been the steel frame of our country. So if you do something wrong, courts have pulled you up. That's how a democracy works, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash.
Look, Gaurav, the debate we are having is what leads to it. You tell me Mr. Vishnu Prakash is a very scholarly person.
No, but
bonds are not...
Can I get Dr. Vishnu Prakash? So if you can hear me, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
So I want you to respond to that. Let's take Disha Ravi case. Government arrested her. Government put sedition charges, and courts threw them out. Isn't that how a democracy works?
As I said in my opening remarks, there is no perfect democracy, and we are not a perfect democracy. I have not known one. There are aberrations. When there are aberrations, there are a system of checks and balances which correct it. And it is not now. Since 15th August 1947, there have been aberrations and they have been corrected. We have had setbacks, political setbacks, economic setbacks, and we have bounced back. The esteemed members, political leaders who are with me in the panel know much better about what has happened when. I don't want to talk about that. All that I know is that if there is one country which can correct itself, that is India.
Through systems of checks and balances, Dr. Ajay Kumar, shouldn't perhaps Rahul Gandhi have turned around and called out these reports if you believe that they're factually incorrect? Government of India did that in the Freedom House report.
No, first question is, Gaurav, you look at it from the perspective of the opposition. The perspective of the opposition is you have electoral bonds which come just before elections and they have lack of transparency. Are you undermining the democratic process? Is the money power a huge issue? If as a patriot of this country, as a patriot, forget as a politician, if you think this is the right way to go for democracy, I believe that we are going the Russian way. Okay, if we continuously ignore the oligarchs paying money and getting favors and are anonymous about that, it's something which all of us as patriotic Indians, even people like Mr. R.P. Singh, should seriously ask the party. And it's for us also to ask. I'm not saying that. For all of us to answer that question. The second question is, when you have live examples of journalists reporting who are being arrested, who are being sent to jail, when you have children being sent to jail, when you have 7,000 people under sedition charges, when you have repeatedly people who speak against the government, actors, actresses, when you have tweets which are identical.
Sir, so if I may, this report actually says that there is a defamation law.
Can I add to that list?
Okay, please.
No, Gaurav, I need to add to that list.
Go ahead.
Gaurav,
Go ahead,
I'll
respond.
add to
There's
Sir,
democracy on my show.
No. Even leader of the opposition has charges against him, sir, of corruption, sir. So even government of India has leveled, as per you, government of India has leveled charges of corruption against the leader of the opposition who's out on bail. Both the leaders of opposition are out on bail. So if someone is guilty, he'll be prosecuted, or the courts will let him go. So why you have to raise question even on the courts? I mean, you say you go and support people. Hello, Ajay, you go and support people who say अफसर हम शर्मिंदा हैं तेरे कातिल कौन अरे सुनो एक मिनट यार आपका धोखा नहीं I never stop you don't do this again so अफसर हम शर्मिंदा हैं तेरे कातिल कौन Supreme Court so your leader go and support that your leader don't have faith in Supreme Court your leader don't have support in Election Commission he don't have faith in Election Commission Supreme Court or even in Parliament so he is a dynast so he will keep speaking what he's speaking.
Another point. I want to take another point. Law of defamation was upheld by Supreme Court in 2016. So is democracy threatened if law of defamation is upheld by Supreme Court? What do these organizations want? Freedom to defame? कुछ भी बोल दो किसी के खिलाफ. There should be no defamation.
And RP Singh Saab, it's laughable when the BJP talks about honesty these days. I mean, it's laughable. Whether it is Jharkhand, whether it's a state government, whether it's Vyapam, whether it is at the central level. I mean, you guys, it's quite
get a court indictment, sir.
Lack of state.
No. Get a court indictment, sir. Get a court indictment, sir. Your leader is out on bail. I just not told you your leader is out on bail. That's why he is question on democracy. Because he doesn't have faith on Supreme Court. Man doesn't have faith in Supreme Court. Man doesn't have faith in court. Bail, the court which has given bail. Sir, it was in your time when court said CBI is a parrot, is a
one by one. So democracy, if you permit, democracy shouldn't become anarchy. And perhaps that is why let's have some order in the debate. But if I come to you for one closing comment, civil society has been constrained in India. UAPA has been used to intimidate and harass and imprison opposing voices and silence dissent. Would you agree with this contention, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash? You've seen, the situation in India. You're looking at situation overseas. Are we going to get these NGOs overseas to decide how law and order is handled in our country, or do we have faith in our courts of law, or are we saying now we don't have faith in our courts of law? NGOs sitting in Sweden and America and UK and elsewhere in Europe will have the final word.
Well, you're stating the obvious, Rahul, but let me weigh in. Many of these organizations have an agenda. They cannot look within, so they look outside and pass judgment without understanding the facts because they have a vested agenda and they have a bias. Now, if a country of 1 crore people is going to pass judgment on a country of 135 crore people, I would respectfully say thank you very much. If an agency which is getting funded from another government but does not look at what is happening within the country but looks at India, I will say thank you very much. I don't think we have to take lessons from anybody. We have to take lessons from within. We have to, if there are any shortcomings, we have to correct them from within. And I can tell you, my friend, we are the biggest and most flourishing, vibrant democracy, not for nothing, because we have that inherent belief in diversity, and we will prevail.
I will let that be the last word on the show. Also keep in mind how India is going out and helping the entire world. Look at what's happening in Vaccine Maitri, when the entire world is looking up to India, where the entire world is actually saying that we are a vaccine superpower and we are a pharmaceutical giant. So when the world recognizes that we are emerging as a big superpower on the world stage, are some interests trying to bring our country down? We'll discuss that on another day, but I will leave you with that thought. But Dr. Ajay Kumar, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and Mr. R.P. Singh and Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. We lost that line with Kanchan Gupta, but we will continue to track these stories. India is too big, too powerful, too strong, and a very vibrant democracy. No outsider can bring us down.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.